Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of Stand Alone, where we go from being ordinary to extraordinary, where we make an active decision in our life to lead our life instead of just letting life happen to us. And when you think about taking your life to a different level, you need to have a coach in your life. You need to have a coach in your corner. And I had the pleasure of meeting Coach Burt a couple of years back. And I said, listen, we got to get you back on today. Our audience is really, really grown. And the world needs to hear your message, Coach. Your book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life, is so important for people to really understand and learn. And I want to really touch on like high performers today, because a lot of people think, well, I'm doing well. What do I need a coach for? But we're all going to hit that ceiling inevitably, right? So to open this up, Coach, I want to say congratulations on having such a great business where you're coaching people to do phenomenal things. And I wanted you to just, break it down for us. Why does everyone, including high performers, why do we also, and probably even more, need to be coached?
Well, and thank you for having me today. And congratulations on the explosion of your business and your podcast. I've been watching you and talking with the folks at Two Market Media about you. So congratulations. I'm proud of you, number one. And you're helping a lot of people. So I think, Sabrina, what happens is the way we look at coaching is really all wrong for a lot of people. We think that we only need a coach when something's wrong with us. Like my business is not performing, something's not working. I need a coach. I only go to therapy when I'm all screwed up, right? And that's how people think. But that's not actually how high performers think. High performers are looking for an advantage. They're looking to maximize their potential. They're looking to play at a higher frequency. They're looking to break through their ceilings. Right. So the real reason you need a coach is not because you're all screwed up. You need a coach because you have a desire to go from what I call from A, your current position, to B, some defining ambition in your life. And no matter where you are, there is always somebody operating at a higher frequency than you, right? There's typically somebody doing it at a bigger level. And if you have a desire, then you hire a coach. Well, most people never hire a coach. They never even have an awareness of why they should hire a coach, because they just don't even think, like, why would I have a coach? What would a coach do? And what they really do is help you find and fill your missing structures. What they really do is alert you to a future potential. What they really do is bring a structure to your confusion. What they really do is help you break through a ceiling of complexity. That's what a great coach does.
I love this. And you talked about, missing structures. And I wanted to dive into this because, in your book, you talk about blind spots, and all of us, we could be successful in one area of our life, but we could be missing, even in that area that we're experiencing success. There could be something that we're not seeing, right? And could you break down what is like the missing structures, why it's so important to fill those voids so that we can really take our game to the next level?
Well, I start with a simple question. If a person wants to hire me to be their coach, and I'm coaching people that are earning $500,000 in passive income a month. I've coached people that are worth 200 or 300 million. I've coached people who are dead broke. I've coached in the prison system. I've coached virtually any group you can imagine: kids, adults, executives, salespeople, operations, blue collar, white collar, rich, poor. And most people have some type of ambition that they're trying to get to. Okay. That's their B. And I force them to tell me. So I ask a simple question: what are you trying to do? And they tell me. They typically say, I'm trying to go from here to here. I'm trying to do this or here. I'm trying to get rid of this problem and have this. Okay. Once I know what their defining ambition is, then I start looking at what's keeping them from getting there, which I think is typically one of four things. Knowledge. They don't know how to get there. If a person's running a $5 million company, it's been a $5 million company for 7 years, they don't know how to get to 50 million. Okay. If they did, they would have already done it. So somebody has the knowledge of how to get them from 5 to 50 million, right? But until they go get that knowledge, then they stay at 5 million and typically complain about it, or they're satisfied and complacent with it. So they don't have the knowledge they need to go from A to B. Number two, they don't have the skill they need to have to go from A to B. And this is a very important component here. The people who earn the most income have the strongest skills typically. They have a strong primary skill that solves a problem. Money changes hands when problems are solved. So they have a very specific skill. When you watch an artist perform, or an athlete or an entertainer, what you're doing is paying to watch them work. They have a skill. So the second thing people don't have is they don't have the skills they need. They haven't had the repetition they need, right? Take the coaching industry. There's 700,000 people in the United States that call themselves a coach. But the average income of those coaches is $47,000 a year. What does that tell me? They don't have the skills to market their coaching business. They don't know how to monetize their coaching. Now, they may have the knowledge, but they don't have the skill. Like, I've got a whole group of people here today at my lodge here in Tennessee. I've got this beautiful lodge in Tennessee, and people come from all over the world. And I'm teaching them how to make $500,000 at an event, from an event. So I'm teaching them how to have an event, conference, boot camp, workshop, retreat, and I'm teaching them how to make $500,000 on the back end of that event. These are successful people, but they have no idea how to do this, right? They don't have the knowledge. So I'm teaching them how to have a core offer, how to come up with great concepts that attract people, how to sell tickets, how to get people in the room, how to come up with back end offers, how to, like, everything you need to have a successful event that is profitable. Because my desire is I don't want them to lose a bunch of money when they try to have these events. Okay, so they don't have the skill. Third thing they don't have is they don't have the desire. They simply don't have the prey drive, which is instinct to see something and pursue it, to get from A to B. They're not willing to put the reps in. They're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to make the calls. They're not willing to, right? They're not willing to work the muscle. And I say, man, you just don't have the desire to do this, to go be a person of interest in the world. And the fourth thing they're lacking is they're lacking confidence. Okay, they just don't have the confidence they need. Now, if I added a fifth thing, relationships, key connections, you understand that, I understand that you could be the best kept secret in the world until you get your message out. So I start looking at what is keeping a person from getting from A to B. And it's typically some internal problem that they have related with these things: knowledge, skill, desire, or confidence.
Yeah. This is so great. When you talked about the hidden talent, you talked about the story of the talents in the Bible. And I love this because when you think about what is inside of us, in your book, you said you were factory installed by the manufacturer for greatness. I love that line. And when you think about the story of the talents, it's almost like that last servant to the master. He hid his talent because he was afraid of losing it. And a lot of people assume this is, could only be relative to money. But a lot of us, we have like a talent within us that is manufactured, and we have to bring it out. Could you speak on that a little bit? Because a lot of us are sitting on some gold right now, and we are just, we are shy about like getting it out to the masses. And why is it so important? And then that's probably why we need a coach to then take what we have and to pull it out of us so that we can actually share it with the world. Why is that so important today, more than ever?
I anticipate that 8 out of 10 people, maybe 9, have not found their talents. It's a big problem in the world. Okay, if I look at the stats, 67% of Americans go to jobs they hate, they're totally disengaged with. 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, which tells me they cannot figure out how to monetize their talents. This is a big problem. And a lot of my work, I talk about in that book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life, which is my core philosophy on life, right? Is that you can go to school for years. I went to college for 9 years to get 3 degrees. I never had one course in how to find my talent. I never had one course in how to package my talent. Never had one course in how to market my talent. Never had one course in how to monetize my talent. A lot of my work today, because I was a deep disciple of Covey. Covey was really big into finding your voice, and inspiring other people to find theirs. So his book, The Eighth Habit, which I think was his best work, goes deep into how do you find this? How do you find your voice in life? How do you find your talent? So this is where a coach comes into your life. You need a guide. You need a person that gives you a formula. So when it comes to talent, the talent is something very specific. I use that parable of the talents in the book because I do believe every person is factory installed by the manufacturer at birth. That's why it's a birthday gift. It was given to you at birth. Problem is you've never opened it. You've never found it. You've never figured out how to package it. You never figured out how to monetize it. When my wife, when we met, she was 30 years old and she was selling cell phones for Verizon. She did drugs every day from 21 to 24. She came to college, dropped out of college. She had no direction, no guidance, no good friends, and just didn't have any direction in life. And she started selling cell phones for Verizon. She dropped her drug habit and she started selling cell phones for Verizon. And at 30, they paid $50 for her to come to one of my workshops on a book I wrote called This Ain't No Practice Life. And she sat in the back, and I'm talking about how to find your talent in life, right? What do you love doing? What are you great at doing? Where is there a need in the world? If you could do anything, what would you do? Right? Like I'm pushing all the people in this room to dig in and figure this out. And so she walks up to me afterward and she says, I need to meet with you. I know I have a talent because she was raised in a Christian home. She's like, I know I have talent, but I have no idea how to find it. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just took her through a series of questions. What do you love doing? She said, I love cooking. I love hospitality. I love taking care of people. And I figured out that from her grandmother, she had a gift of hospitality, right? She doesn't use recipes when she cooks. She does it naturally. And I'm like, how do you not use a recipe? It's like, well, it's just in her. It's like she just knows how to do it. And I said, that is a talent. The gift of hospitality, of taking care of people. So I helped her start a catering company. And she would cook for 2 or 3 days, serve people, and she loved it, but she figured out there wasn't a lot of money on the back end, right? So guess what my wife does today when we do these retreats? She handles all of the hospitality. She had this beautiful spread of food this morning for breakfast. She completely redesigns our real estate properties. She handles all of taking care of people. That is her talent. We are monetizing that talent. I do the coaching. She does the hospitality. She loves what she's doing. I love what I'm doing. We are combining our talents in our marriage. So those talents are profitable. They help the business grow. So all I really did for her is help her find her talent. It was in her. She just didn't have a coach. And when she had a coach, she's like, oh, man, I could design real estate and I could do this and I could handle hospitality and I could do this. Then we start combining it. And I call that intentional congruence, where everything in our life feeds everything in our life, right? So without finding your talent, man, life is hard. Making money is hard. It's a struggle. You're frustrated all the time. You know you're supposed to be doing something, but you can't quite figure out how to do it.
Yeah, this is a really important thing for people to really dig into, because a lot of people today, they're feeling these burnout, the failure, the irritation, the agitation, because they feel like I'm just here to like do more, do more, do more. And, towards the end of your book, you talk about, well, when it's all on you, that's how you feel. But when you expand to a team, and really that's what a marriage is, it's a team. And what a team can never do, and I love this, where you talk about, comparing yourselves and competing, and then you can't be contending and criticizing. And so if you could speak on this a little bit, because the people that are going to win in the future are the people that are moving from this individualistic type of mindset to functioning in a team behavior, and then complementing the people that they're working with, but they're still maintaining their individuality, right? They're still, honing in on their levels of expertise, but they never ever play that comparison game. I think that's when I see people, really, it's like to their own demise. They start comparing and they start competing, and it just unravels in a negative way. Could you talk about why the future needs us to work together almost more than ever before, because the world is priming us to be so individualistic, and it's almost to our detriment.
Well, I grew up as a basketball coach, and there were years I had great players, but they didn't play as a team. And I actually had years where the players actually resented the best player. And so there was all this division, comparison, contentiousness. It's kind of the seas of emotional cancers. You compare, you complain, you contend, you criticize, right? You're complacent. There's these negatives, things that you want to stay away from in life. And we never won any championships during that period. A team is where the strengths of some compensate for the weaknesses of others. It is a complementary team. My strength is complementing your weakness. And this is how a team should operate, right? There's things you're good at based on your talent. There's things other people are good at based on their talent. You bring these talents together to do something bigger in the world. And if you ever want to scale anything or grow anything, the only way you're going to do it is through people, right? And through the help of other people. And you really figure that out when you try to do something bigger. You need support. You need other people. You need talents. You need to pull it together. And that's not really what we're taught from an early age. We're taught to be selfish, right? Like I have a 16-month-old son. You don't have to teach him to be selfish. It's like already in there. He wants something. When he wants to do something, he wants to do it. He don't care if you like it, don't like it. He watches Bubble Guppies in the morning. And as soon as he wakes up and gets his milk, he's figured out how to do this. Like, come on, we're going over here to watch Bubble Guppies. And if you don't want to go watch Bubble Guppies, he grunts. He's trying to tell me, he's like, this is what we're doing, Dad, whether you want to do it or not. Okay. And so at a very early age, we learn to be selfish. We learn to look out for ourselves. We're not taught how to be great team members. This is why I used to teach when I was a basketball player, the 5 dysfunctions of teams, because, you get into absence of trust, avoidance of accountability, fear of conflict, status and ego. If you really learn these things early in life, which is what I was doing with those high school basketball players, that was preparing them, man. And this is tough. Managing, I own a company. Keep getting employees on the same page. It's tough. Getting people to do what they're supposed to do is tough. Managing their energy is tough. It's why there's so many bad teams in the world, is because we live in such a world where everybody wants to do their own thing. And you really just can't do anything big like that.
Yeah, this is why I always say, like, success is rare. And even though it is for you, and when you say, like, you were manufactured to be successful, it's still rare. And you have to do what is unnatural so that you can get to the next level. When you talk about just breaking it down, and I really wanted to spend time on this, because just when you work with a team and there's a lot of disorder, we often think, okay, well, let me just work on what are you doing right now? But there could be another layer that's causing these issues. So when you break it down into, like, the spirit, the body, the heart, and the mind, and you said, I didn't really want to be called a life coach, but really, in essence, that is what you are, because it is their whole life. And when people understand that, like, when one area is weak, like spiritually, you could be very, very weak, and the body could be just like booming. You've got the skill, you've got everything outwardly appearing very well, but spiritually you're not there. So if you could explain to people that all these things, they feed into one another, and that's where you're coming from a good place. And it takes time to get there too. It's not like you get there overnight. But having a coach to see those things, like, and to call that out in you where you never really thought about, maybe I'm not doing as well here because over here is weak.
Yep. When you look at people, I believe people are made up of 4 parts: a body that's physical, a mind that's mental, a heart that's emotional, a spirit that's spiritual. That manifests itself into knowledge for the mind, skills for the body, desire for the heart, confidence for the spirit. Take it a step further, it manifests itself into vision for the mind, discipline for the body, passion for the heart, and conscience for the spirit. Now, when you look at that and you're out of dimension in any area of your life, and there's been times in my life I've been out of balance in all of those areas, right? There's times spiritually I was dead. There have been times I've been physically out of shape. There's been times mentally I've been out of the game. There's been times emotionally I've been all screwed up about something, right? A whole person functioning at a high level has an awareness that, man, I need to be clicking on all cylinders in all four parts of my nature. So I tell people every morning, my morning routine is I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I feed my spiritual self. Okay. So for me, it's faith-based. Typically I listen to a sermon on the way into the gym. First thing I do every morning is I listen to a song called "It's a Great Day to Be Alive." And then I ride into the gym. I listen to about a 15-minute sermon, feeds my faith. I work out for 45 minutes really hard, and I have to be in a structure with a coach in an environment that pushes me. That feeds my body. Then I go home. I work out typically at 5 a.m. so I can be home at 6 to see my kids from 6 to 7. That feeds my heart. Then I get ready. And while I'm getting ready, I listen to something on business that feeds my mind. So by 8 a.m., I have fed my body, my mind, my heart, and my spirit. Okay. And then this is the way that I'm trying to get every cylinder clicking. Like, I'm going to go perform today. I'm going to be on my A game. I'm interested in self-actualization. And if I'm interested in self-actualization, then I got to be interested in all four parts of my natures. But when I show people that I'm coaching, they'll say, man, I'm out of balance in my body. I'm not taking care of my body. I'm not exercising. I don't feel good. I don't have, see, if I feel bad about my body, my confidence is low. If I don't have the knowledge I need, my confidence is low. If I don't have the skill I need, my confidence is low. If I got confidence, but no skill and no knowledge, then I'm really not that good, right? And so when I learned that theory, it's called the whole person theory. I learned it at 18 years old, and I go, man, there is something to this. So I began coaching high school students when I was a high school teacher and coach in all four parts of their nature. And man, when I connected to all four parts of their nature, they played really hard for me. And people would come to me and say, well, what are you doing? Like, man, why do these kids, they seem so bought into you? That's ultimately, Sabrina, why I started writing books. I had no intention of coaching adults today. I had no intention of doing this. I was a great high school basketball coach, winning championships. And people would constantly say to me, man, what are you doing with those kids? And I said, well, I'm growing the whole person, body, mind, heart, and spirit. And they would literally look at me like, what planet did you come from? Like, what do you mean? All right. And it's hard for me to explain. So I started writing books about it. And when I wrote the books, business people began to call me and say, man, will you come out and speak to my team? And then some of those business people said, will you coach my team? And then that kind of just kept growing. So then ultimately I retired from high school coaching and started the coaching business. But now we have success schools for kids. I just did one this past weekend where I spend the full day with kids teaching confidence, whole person theory, bounce back, pray drive, talent. Everything I teach, we do with kids in what we call these success schools, which are 1 to 2 day events with me, people flying from all over the world. So cool that they come in and their parents bring them in here to spend a day with me. And we teach them these things that we teach the adults.
That's so amazing. Education, especially this year, is really challenging for me because I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And for a lot of people with these like transitioning with, everything going on in the education system and me being in business, I'm thinking, well, who is teaching my child? What are they teaching my child? And I think we wait too long to expose our children to what is really necessary to do well in life, right? And, I'm just such a big advocate of education, but I believe it has to be the right education. So I love that you're doing that and putting that attention into children, because that essentially is our future. What would you say that you learn from those kids? One thing in my business with, we're coaching people, we're leading people, but often like I learn stuff from my people. And I think some of the greatest coaches do that too. What did you learn from those students that you were teaching as you were getting them to win? And how did that make you a better coach?
Well, what I learned, and I was reminded this weekend because my daughter plays basketball. She's 9 years old, and the coach was out of town, and so I went in and led practice, and I was reminded that the kids want to learn. They're hardwired to want to learn. They're curious. They're just not getting taught. And so I put those kids through a workout for an hour to an hour and a half. And the parents come up to me and say, man, they have never had a workout like that. Like, that was awesome. Like, you actually taught them. You didn't just roll a ball out there. And I taught a course in college as an adjunct professor for a couple of years. And I just took an interest in the kids, right? We did projects in class. We never did homework outside of class. We did it in class, but I coached them and I took interest in them and I paid attention to them. And some of those kids would come and say, man, this is the best class I've ever had in college. It's like, you actually care. You actually want to help us. So the big lesson that I always learn from the kids is they want to do good. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for a great coach. They're looking, and what's interesting is, sometimes elementary coaches would come to me and they would say, man, you don't want that girl. I'd say, what do you mean? They'd say, well, she's a troublemaker. She's going to end. Here's what they would say, that she's going to end up in jail or pregnant. And you don't want to take her. And I would be, no, I do want to take her. And I'm going to show you, with the power of a good coach in her life and discipline and structure, what can happen with this kid. And I loved it. And I would go back 4 years later and say to that coach, remember that kid you told me not to take? Like, we're sending her off to college. She's doing great. She was a great student. She just needed, many of them didn't have a great father figure. They didn't have discipline at home. Their parents were trying to make it from week to week. They didn't get the time and attention they needed. I became like a surrogate parent to them. And man, what we produced, showed me the power of structure and rhythm and discipline and accountability in a kid's life. And that is what I always believe, is that they want to learn. They just need to be taught. They're dying. They're silently begging to be led. They're silently begging to be taught.
Yeah. And I think, adults too, like the ones that are consistently successful, there's a need for us to continuously learn, to continuously, feed ourselves so that we get there. So, when you're dealing with a child and the child is, has issues, we still have this chance to mold them. Like, you never give up on a child. I believe that every child has massive amounts of potential, right? And it's our job as adults to like pour into them. But my question to you is, when you get into the business world and sometimes you're dealing with adults that are difficult, what is the difference there? Do you see, like, especially in your coaching experience, when we talk about, number one, if you can answer, what does it mean to be coachable? Because you have to have that to do well. But like, how do you know, like, when an adult, can't be helped? And it's hard to say this, but unfortunately, I do believe there's hope for everyone. It's just very challenging. When do you let go?
I'm thinking about a particular person I'm coaching right now who paid me a lot of money to be his coach, but he just don't seem that coachable. And he seems detached, disinterested. I've tried over and over to engage, right? But what happens to people is, at certain times in their life, they're just not open, for whatever reason, to counsel. They're not open to feedback. They're not open to coaching. And it's really futile to try to coach them, right? So there's only so many times I'm going to try to work with a person. I'm thinking about this because I'm being coached right now by someone, and he's actually coaching me and my wife together, and he coaches a lot of power couples. And to be honest with you, I dread going to those coaching sessions because I'm busy. I'm coaching thousands of people. I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have to sit through this for an hour and a half? That's my attitude. But I'm open and I go through it. And in every session, there's always something that is incredibly impactful for me. And it may take an hour to get into the session before it's like, boom, I needed to hear that one thing. And it made me better. And so I never feel bad about it after. It's this mindset that we have. Like, oh, I'm too busy for coaching. Oh, I'm already making a bunch of money. Folks, it ain't all about the money. Most people have internal problems. One of the things I said to my coach one day, right in the middle of one of our sessions, in our session, what isn't even about this? I just felt the need to tell him. I said, man, sometimes I wake up with just total anxiety and I can't figure out why. I've got money. I got a great life. I've got a great business. I got good kids. And I said, man, for some reason, I just wake up in total fear, right? I don't know if it's because the way I was raised. I don't know if it's because I'm afraid it'll all go away. I don't know. I don't even know what it is, right? But I just blurted it out right in the middle of our coaching session. And my wife is over here like, where did that come from? And I'm like, man, I just need help in this area, right? Like, I know we're talking about this over here, but this is my problem. And he gave me 2 strategies because he works with a lot of very successful people. And he just gave me 2 simple strategies for my mornings when I woke up in the morning. Like, if my mind went to anxiety, here's 2 things you can do to pull it back in and to focus on right? And it was valuable for me. So that one thing was worth the coaching. So what I find is that people in their mind think, I don't need a coach. I'm doing well. I'm making a bunch of money. I was coaching a guy who's worth $200 million. Several years ago, but he'd been through 5 divorces. And it was clear to me he could not be in a successful relationship with people, right? There's something he was doing, whether who he was picking, who he was marrying, who he was, right? And it just created all kinds of internal problems for him, confidence issues, awkwardness. And he was wealthy, but he had other issues. So a lot of people think, well, I'm making money, I don't need a coach. Well, the truth is we all have some type of internal struggle. And we're trying to get somewhere. And if that person can help us get there, right? Like I call Steve Carlos all the time at 2 Market Media. I'm like, look, I need to be famous, Steve. Okay, flip the button, hit the switch, introduce me to the right person, whatever you got to do to help me become famous, right? I've been coaching for 30 years. Man, I need to go to the next level. Okay, so here's the deal. That's something, right? That's inside me. He's like, well, you are becoming famous like this. You're doing it, man. And I'm like, well, it feels too slow. And so my point is in his way, he'll say, well, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. Okay. These are 3 missing. I'm like, all right, good. Can we make progress there? And if we're making progress, I feel good about it. So that's why when a person is not coachable, they're really saying, I'm closed-minded. I'm not open. And I don't think this is valuable. And like I said, I get it. I understand. I don't even want to go through some of the coaching I go through, but it is always valuable. Now, there's certain things, Sabrina, that I'm like, man, I really would like to learn how to do that. Like that woman knows how to do something I don't know how to do. I'm willing to pay money to figure out how to do that so I can get something on the other side of that. And I'm very humble in those areas because I have a strong desire to move from A to B.
Yeah. So, this is the thing, because I learned when I met you a few years back, we were talking about Prey Drive very heavily because we are all mission oriented people, right? So we need a goal, we need a mission, but how do we have this Prey Drive in us and then also be open-minded? Because this is a struggle for a lot of leaders. In leadership, you have to be able to stand your ground because you hear a lot of noise in the world, and you have to have an open mind. So I always tell people leadership is a big war. You're going to go to war with yourself. You're going to think one thing, it's going to push you this way. And how do we go after what's inside of us with that really almost, I don't want to say narrow-mindedness, but single-mindedness, purpose. Yeah. And then also be open-minded so we don't feel like, well, I have all the answers and I know everything, because, that can limit us also if we're so, tunnel vision focused that we're not seeing what's going on over here. Is that what a coach does? Do they bring awareness to what's going on over here?
At some point, you hit a ceiling. And it's called a lot of things, whether it be the Peter Principle, ceiling of complexity. It's literally where you have gotten you've taken this thing as far as you can take it, right? And you are sick of staying at that level. And I wish I could tell you as a coach that people were motivated by potential. I wish I could tell you that majority of people could see a bigger future and move toward that future. The reality is, after coaching people for 30 years, most people don't move until they are sick and tired of being sick and tired of something. So it's like, I'm here, I'm stuck. I am so sick of being stuck here. And I don't care where that level is. You could be making $10 million a year and go, man, I'm sick of being stuck at this level. I know somebody can help me get to that level. Now, when you study Prey Drive, that's really the new book that I'm writing right now, which is an animal has a prey drive. Okay, that's where I associated the concept with is a dog has a prey drive. It's animal's ability to stalk, capture, and kill prey. I'm saying humans have a prey drive, PREYDRIVE, but it is their ability to see something with the eyes or in the mind and have the persistence and the intensity to pursue it. So it's a new way to talk about motivation that I'm hoping will catch, right? So I trademarked Prey Drive. I'm the only person who can use it in humans. And what I did is I deconstructed the top 20 motivational theories and I codified those theories. And I basically came up with my own theory on motivation. What activates a person's drive? And why do they pursue things? And what I found when doing the research for that book is that the animal is never motivated by capturing the prey. It is most motivated by the ability to pursue the prey. It gets most excited by the chase, not the capture. Okay. So I want to put that in motivational terms. Every motivational theory says the same things. We move toward things we want. I'm hungry, I move toward food. I'm lonely, I move toward people. I'm thirsty, I move toward water. What happens when I have everything I want? What happens when I have a good life and a good house and good kids, good job and make good money? Well, that actually suppresses my prey drive, right? And I don't get lazy, but I get complacent. Complacency is a gradual settling. So successful people become complacent. Lazy people don't know how to work hard. Okay. They don't even know how to work hard. They're just lazy. They've never learned the work ethic they need. But successful people quit doing things they used to do to be successful. Man, I quit the prospecting and I used to go to the gym, but I quit that. I used to work out. I used to make calls. I used to work this. I did. Well, we become complacent. What's happening is our needs are satisfied. Satisfied needs never motivate, only unsatisfied needs. So I've had people hire me that are making millions of dollars a year that say, man, I lost my prey drive. I just don't have a fight in me anymore, man. I had fight. That's how I got to where I am. And then I've lost every bit of my prey drive. Okay. So people come to me that are real successful and say, man, I just ain't got the fight in me anymore. And I need it. I'm looking for it. I'm trying to get it back. So what's happened is I'm like, well, you're satisfied. All your needs are met, man. You're making a bunch of money. You live in big houses, flying on private jets. You don't have a desire to go get it. King David in the Bible was a great king until he decided not to go into battle. And his own troops convinced him to stay home. You're good. We don't need you. We're going to win without you. Take it easy this year, King David. Well, King David stays home. He sees Bathsheba. He gets himself in trouble. His whole life goes downhill, all because he was distracted, man. He wasn't in the battle. I see a lot of people get successful and they quit going into battle, right? 3 reasons people pass away at the end of people's lives. They run out of money. They run out of love. They run out of purpose. Okay. And I see a lot of successful people, man, they don't have purpose anymore. The biggest purpose, playing golf. Biggest purpose is goofing off. Biggest purpose is trying to figure out where to vacation next. That's not a purpose. So you don't want to run out of purpose. You need to be in the fight. You need to be in the arena. That's where the prey drive is activated. It is not sitting on the sidelines going, hey, I'm out. Okay. Now the government came up with the concept of retirement in 1935. They don't come up with many good ideas. Okay. And they said, man, let's work to 65 and then shut it down. To do what? Right. I'm not saying you got to work 80 hours a week at 65, but listen to what I said. People pass away when they run out of money. They run out of love. They run out of care outside of natural causes. My mom worked in a nursing home for 30 years. Okay. Servicing people at the end of their lives. And I asked her, why do people pass away? Nobody comes to see them. They run out of love. They run out of money. There's only 1 nurse for every 23 residents in a nursing home. Okay. Number 3, she said the real reason they pass away is they run out of purpose. They don't have something to get up and work toward. Okay. And this is a big thing that I try to do with this new book, Flip the Switch, is reactivate that drive in a person.
Yeah, I think this is really, really powerful for a lot of people too. You talk about these three states. Number one, you could be
Yep.
dynamic and growing. Number two, static and stuck. And number three, entropic. I'm a science person, so I've always entropy is really big. Could you describe what you mean by this and why you always want to catch yourself? I think the self-awareness is incredibly important. So when you feel yourself in this motion, reach out for help.
Yep.
Get a coach and say, like, this is not who I am. Like, I'm supposed to be going after stuff. I like to be in the battle, right? So what are those three states, and how do we, like, single them out, become self-aware of what state we're in, and then pull ourselves out of it so we can be in a state that's actually serving us and not destroying us?
What I really like doing as a coach is taking complicated concepts and making them simple, and packaging and codifying concepts. Well, an airplane has what's called an attitude indicator. And that attitude indicator indicates if it is climbing, ascending, it is static or at its altitude that it's flying at, or it is descending, it is landing. Your attitude is very similar to that. That's states of energy. There are three states of energy: dynamic, on fire, learning, growing; static, stuck, complacent, bored, in a rut; entropic, dying. The minute a plant stops growing, it starts dying. Okay. Same thing is true of people. The minute you stop growing, you really start dying. So when you think about energy states, there's times in our lives that we've all been dynamic, man. We were on fire. We had passion and energy and enthusiasm and excitement for something. And then we got static, stuck, bored, complacent, in a rut. Then we were entropic, man. It's just like, man, we just don't pay any attention to this anymore. Our bodies do that. Our life does that. Those are three states of energy. So you always want to get back to a dynamic position, right? Sometimes if you're in a marriage, I had a young pastor tell me once, I still remember this, when I was a young kid, he was talking about stages of marriage. And he said, it starts off with passion, right? Then at times it feels like it's a duty. Like, man, I got to do it. My wife wants me to do it. I got to do it, right? Then sometimes it can feel like a burden. And then you come back home to commitment, right? And you remember why you committed to this in the beginning and why you're committed to this person, right? And I thought about that over my lifetime, that every job I've ever had, every vocation, every job I pretty had has been a vocational job, meaning I loved it. As a basketball coach for a decade, loved it. Been doing what coaching people now for the last 15 to 20 years, I've loved it. But even as much as I love it, Sabrina, there are times that being a coach to thousands of people feels like a burden. It's like, man, I got thousands of people counting on me. I got to do that freaking video every morning. I got to show up to teach every Monday. I got to, right? It's like, it can be a burden, man. And then I get a letter from somebody that says, man, your coaching changed my life, saved my marriage, put my business together, helped me with my kids. A guy came up to me once and he said, man, just listening to you made me a better dad. Just listening to you made me want to be a better dad. And man, so then what does that do? It alerts me to commitment. This is why I do this, man. This is ultimately, I'm willing to suck the sour to get to the sweet. I'm willing to embrace the suck. I'm willing to be uncomfortable to help a lot of people. Okay. And that is my life's path. That is why the good Lord put me on this earth, in my opinion. So it's like, I'm here to help unlock people's potential. I'm here to help people find their talent. I'm here. And sometimes I got to do uncomfortable things. I told my wife once, we're going to live an extraordinary life. It's going to be very uncommon, the life we're going to live, but the extra's got to come from somewhere. And our desire to help people has got to be greater than our desire for comfort. Because I'm going to ask you to do a lot of things on this journey. It's going to be very uncomfortable for us. I'm going to have to be on the road. I'm going to have to be away from the kids. We're going to have to sacrifice weekends and stuff that we didn't think that this is our life's path. All right, and are you okay with that? Right? Like, do you want to go on this journey? And she said, yes. So we sacrifice a lot to help a lot of people, but it's incredibly rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. That stage thing is so incredibly powerful, because a lot of people, when you look at relationships, they're only looking for the passion, right? And so what they do is every time the passion dies, they quit that relationship and then go seek out the passion somewhere else. And then when that passion dies, to go and seek it somewhere else. And unfortunately, you just get to the end feeling incredibly unfulfilled. So it's just like that whole thing, get through the whole process. I love that you talk about, just getting people to think a different way. When you said that coaches, they get people to do something they haven't done, right? But they get people to think a way that they've never had to think before. In your 30 years of coaching, what would you say are some like major, shifts in their thinking and their, paradigm shifts that they had to make, where they thought this way and it was just so off that they had to adapt this new way of thinking to get to their next level?
The first one really has to do with what we talked about earlier, which is getting them to think about their talent different. Okay, most people have never given any real thought to what their talents are. So I teach it in stages. First, we have to find what makes you unique. What is your hard skill? What is your primary skill? What is your unique ability? Then we need to think about, how do we package your talent so that it solves a problem for other people? People can absorb your talent. They can consume your talent. Then we have to talk about how we're going to market and promote your talent. And then ultimately how we monetize that talent through monetization and multiply that talent. And when I do this exercise, people are like, oh man, I've never even thought about it. Like, I don't know what my talents are. And then they become incredibly curious. It's like, oh, I need to figure this out. So I'm going to use a word here called alert. I think a good coach alerts people to their talent and potential that they don't even know. So when they're sitting in a workshop with me, I could see their mind going, oh man, I hadn't thought about that. Gosh, that's good. Man, I do have a talent. What is it? Man, how do I package it different? Okay. And how do I monetize it? See, all I really do is take my talent, and my talent's not coaching, by the way. See, a lot of people think my talent is coaching because I've been a coach my whole life. My real talent is in deconstructing a concept and then codifying that concept and then packaging and delivering that concept in a simple way that gets other people to take action. You see how clear I am in my talent? I can't cook. I'm geographically illiterate. I can't fix anything. I was raised by a single mom. She didn't teach me how to fix cars. I can't fix a car. Like I don't know the difference between transmission fluid and the oil. Okay. So, but I believe in my talent area that I can compete with anybody in the world when it comes to deconstructing an idea and breaking that idea. It's like, look at what I did with Pray Drive. I broke it down into phases and activators and deconstruction. And then I write a book about it. And then I do boot camps on it and webinars and corporate contracts and podcasts. See, that's my talent. Now the question becomes, how do I monetize this? Who can I help with my talent? Well, companies would pay me to activate the Pray Drive in their people. Managers would pay me to activate the Pray Drive in their salespeople. Parents would pay me to activate the Pray Drive in their kids. Wives would pay me to activate the Pray Drive in their husbands. You see what I'm saying? Like, then it's like, how many different ways can we make money with this specialized skill? See, the military has special forces, Navy SEALs. And I tell people I'm looking for Navy SEALs, not baby SEALs, right? I'm looking for serious people because I'm a serious person. Now, when I talk like this, most people look at me like, oh my gosh, I know I have a talent. What is it? What problem does it solve? Who would pay me the most money for it? So I think that's really what I open people's mind to, is real possibility of their talent solving a problem in the world.
Yeah. So, you talk about this concept of being a monster and creating monsters. And I wanted to, kind of like end with this and something else. But, in a world today where everyone is kind of just getting more docile, kind of just like, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to say something wrong. We're like afraid to be who we are, to go after what our dreams, what our aspirations are, because of how other people may view us. But could you explain, what it means to be a monster in your approach? And then how, when you said, I'm a serious person, so I only want serious people around me. It's like, do you have these qualities that I possess? What does it mean to be a monster in the pursuit of something that is serious to you?
A monster is a person who has a desire to live a legendary life, to become legendary. I'm riding down the road one day 10 years ago, and I had an employee who had just been with me for 2 or 3 months. And I said, man, what do you think we do here? What do you think we really do? And he said, can I be honest with you? And I said, sure. And he said, man, I have never worked with somebody like you. He said, the way you think, how hard you push, your intensity levels. He said, man, you are a freaking monster. And he said, he said, and I found a definition in the dictionary that a monster was a legendary creature. And I thought, boom, that's going to be the name of our coaching program. And that program has 893 people in it right now. And so we teach people how to be monster producers. My wife has a book called Living with a Monster, which is how you live with a guy like me. How do you live with a very driven, obsessed type person like me? And we turn that into couples retreats. So we're selling these couples retreats like crazy because we help people who live with the monster get on the same page, do something big, understand how they think, understand each other. And so that is a monster. So I named the coaching program Monster Producer with very little thought. I didn't think about the branding or the marketing, or this is 10 or 15 years ago when I was getting started, right? I just said, man, we're going to call it Monster Producer. And now it's become a brand that has, ultimately helped thousands of people that have been in that coaching program. And that's where people typically start with me, is they start in that coaching program, and then they go on to big concepts like person of interest, or they come to boot camps like Living with the Monster, or, some of the other things I do, but they typically start there in that coaching program.
Yeah. I think it's important to just, get your perspectives changed, because when we think of monster, we think of bad, but
Yep.
When we think of prey drive, we think, that could be just a very selfish person.
Right.
And no, it's not. In fact, I won't be a good person to you if you don't let me pursue what it is that I'm looking to pursue. In closing, Coach, I'd like for you to just talk about legacy. I think it's really important for people to understand when you talk about talents. This is something that really resonates with me. I believe that we should express what's rare inside of us. I think a lot of people are living their life just trying to be someone else. And then you get to the end of your life just feeling empty and you don't know who you are. So what is rare about you? What is your legacy when Coach Burt isn't physically here on earth? What will we remember about you? What void will be created that we will know that you really served a purpose that was unique to you?
I think part of my legacy is the number of people I impact as a coach. And I hear people come up to me now when I speak at conferences and say, you changed my whole family's life. I have a downline of 10,000 people, and you don't know how many people you're affected when you affected me. But my biggest legacy right now is I'm building greatness factories around the country. And these are unique destinations, inspired and elegant real estate where you learn, grow, connect, work. And it's kind of the genesis of my whole person theory that I subscribe to. So you feed the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. It's really cool places to gather for intentional collaboration. So these really cool spaces where people go work like a little city. And there's auditoriums and podcast studios and shared space and permanent space. But the energy and the collaboration is something we really know how to do. And so we're working on the first one in Nashville. That's just beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm in talks with one to have one in Phoenix, Houston, Dallas, Tampa, Sacramento. So it's a concept I came up with, completely designed it, had it architecturally built out where it's beautiful. And ultimately, I hope there's hundreds, if not thousands of those around the country. That's a big legacy play for me because, it's something that'll live on beyond me other than just being a good coach.
I love that. I just want to say thank you for your time. I want to say thank you for being a good person in this world that we can all look up to and learn from. And thank you for just reminding us that no matter, where we are in our life, if we feel like we're at our lowest low or our highest high, we can all benefit from a coach. I love that. So thank you so much for your time today.
100%. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Okay. See you soon.
Thanks, Coach. All the best to you. All the best. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.